My guest today came into a close relationship with God at the age of 30. 3 years later, she suffered a great personal loss that would change her life forever. That's some 20 years ago. Today, she's using her gift and her love for the performing arts to communicate life-changing stories that would touch people in the same way she has been touched. Sarah Boulos, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Coco. Thank you for having me.
It's so great to have you.
Thank you.
2003 is a Christmas that you would never forget. Can you tell us what happened?
So I was in the mountain called Bet Menzer in Lebanon.
Okay.
My father was there with me and my husband and the family. We only had my father and my immediate family from my in-laws and my brother Yoran. So we were all together on the table. At 11:30, my father comes down from the stairs and he says, just around midnight, 11:30 midnight, says that there's been a fire in the mother home village, that we have to run and rush there and see what happened. We are not sure what's going on. So we, at midnight, maybe past 12, a bit past 12, we took the car, we went all the way to the village. We found out that in the house of the family there was a fire on the Christmas tree, and we found out also that my uncle and my aunt, she was 37, he was 52, they are the one who raised me my last year of baccalaureate in high school, in French, the French baccalaureate. So she raised me, and they had left the candle on the Christmas tree caught fire, and they died asphyxiated by the tree.
Wow. So how did you feel when you heard that story?
I think before I left the house in the mountain, there was a sort of cold surrounding me, and the only thing I heard from the Lord was, be strong, and nothing. So I was really lonely during that time. I was very much under shock because I loved them very much. They raised me the last year of my 18th year. So I was really questioning myself in all counts, but it's a state of shock.
Okay, and I'm sure you didn't expect what would happen in the next few hours to you.
No.
Again, the following day, and that's still Christmas 2003. So can you tell us what happened the following day?
So that morning, that night, when we were in the village, I went to sleep in my husband's cousin's house. They gave me something to drink. I slept. I woke up in the morning. We went down under the church. We saw the body, because in Lebanon you have to lay the body and you have to pray over the bodies, and they're not buried yet. Okay. So until they bury them. And then there was a lot of commotion. My dad was talking all the time and everything, and my dad was just, very much under, because it was his brother. So I get a phone call from, I'm calling my mom to see how she's doing, and she happens to be in Cotonou. And she says to me she's about to go to the airport and take the flight to meet us at the funeral. So I say, okay, and then the phone cuts off. And I call my sister in Canada, and she says she'll be also started coming also for the funeral. So around 5 o'clock, something happens. 5 o'clock on the dot, my husband comes. We are under the church where the bodies are, and says, you need to come with me. I said, where? He says, you need to come with me to the hotel down because something has happened. So I said, tell me. He said, I cannot tell you right now. You get into the car. So I get into the car. He says, your family was in the plane and the plane landed on water. And so I said, what do you mean landed on water? She said, we're going down to the my husband was trying to take everything one after the other so that I don't collapse, basically. Okay. So we get to the hotel in Beirut where my father is, and I see my father in a state of shock. He can't even speak. He's crying, and everybody's silent. Then I switch on CNN, and we saw the plane crash.
Wow. So your family, which members of your family? Because I know you mentioned your mom, yeah.
Yeah, so my mother, my brother, he was 26, his wife, 22nd, 22 years old. The father of his wife, in his 50s, very young, and my cousin, 30.
Okay, so that's 5 people in the plane crash.
Yes.
and you had lost 2 in a fire.
Yeah, so I went through 7 funerals on Christmas Day.
Wow, and this is in the space of under 24 hours, really.
Yeah, actually it's Christmas Day.
Okay. So what did that do to you? Because I know you were already a committed Christian at this point.
Because of that silence from God, it was really strong silence. So I saw black flies around me at 7 o'clock on the Christmas Eve. And I thought all kinds of thoughts that we were cursed, that the family...
So when you say you saw, I'll just take you back, black flies, what do you mean? Is this in a dream or
No.
real?
I saw like tack all around me and haunting me, and I didn't know what it was.
So was it, did you imagine it, or were there
Maybe
really
I
black
imagined it,
flies?
but I was under a state of shock. I didn't know what it was. I just knew there was something not nice surrounding me, and I was very scared. And I was crying, and I was holding on to my brother, who was with me at that time, my other brother. And one lady, she's the wife of Faisal Al-Khalil. She's May Al-Khalil. She just had gone through a recent accident, but she's Druze. As soon as she entered the room, I saw everything disappearing. So there was a strength in her that actually condoned whatever was happening around me. So she took me in her arm. She gave me something to sleep, I guess. And then I was holding on to my brother nonstop, crying. You know, I was really in another states of mind. And then they put me in my bed, and that was it. And so it was complete silence. I didn't hear anything from God, that's for sure.
Okay, but you had heard "Be Strong" before the Christmas tree fire.
Yeah.
And after that, you didn't hear anything?
Nothing.
Okay. I just remember the title of a book, When Heaven is Silent.
Yeah.
You know, so in retrospect now, we know that when Jesus hung on the cross, heaven was silent as well.
Yeah.
So
why have you forsaken me?
Yes. So what did that do to your faith? What would you say to someone who's going through a midnight time, a very difficult time, and questioning? Did you ever feel, is God really there? Does God love me?
No, I fought with God.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did not give up. Yeah, I did not give up. So what happened is that morning I wake up, my Bible is beside me.
Okay.
I'm still numbed.
Okay.
I come out and I see all the people from Lagos, from my generation where I got born again.
Okay.
And they were there wearing black. I said, these people, they don't know God. So I started shouting.
That's in Lebanon?
No, yeah, in Lebanon, they were there.
Okay,
yes.
They came from Lagos?
Yeah, they came from Lagos because most of them are Lebanese.
Okay.
So they showed up in my room, my bedroom, and I looked at them like, you know, actually I looked at them, are you happy that this happened? You know, the way I was like angry, and I shut down everybody and I started screaming at heaven, and I said, our Father who are in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And I started screaming, and I said, now I want somebody who knows God. Now Christ, send me someone who knows you. I want to hear from you and nobody else.
So
I demanded.
That prayer? Did he answer? Did he send
Yes,
somebody?
he did. Within like 15 minutes. That was amazing.
So can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so basically, one of the lady who was there, who doesn't know me very well, she just knew me after I got born again, she actually called someone, a priest, said, this lady needs a priest. And so they called. The person who entered happened to be in almost a plane crash and was saved. It was a miraculous from Medjugorje, where they see the Virgin Mary.
Okay.
And so that man arrived and landed there, and he said, I want to talk to Sarah alone.
Okay.
And so they took me inside, and he said, you've called on Christ, and he's with you. And he said exactly the words that I screamed. So maybe if she spoke to him, I don't know. But the way he said it, I knew I wouldn't be alone.
Okay.
And that morning, between him coming in and I had opened my Bible, and the Lord had directed me to Job. And I didn't know Job's story. The Lord had directed me to Job and Lamentations. That was exactly the scripture being preached for me in Lagos as we spoke by a Jesuit father to pray for me and my family.
Wow.
So everything is connected when you call out to God.
Okay, Sarah, this is just amazing. Okay, we're going to take a break now, and you know, when we come back, there's just so much more that we need to get from Sarah.
colors of life.
We've been talking to Sarah Boulos, a committed Christian who lost 7 members of her family within 24 hours. So, Sarah, I'd like to ask you a question. There's this many times when people suffer a huge personal loss or some tragedy or something terrible happens, they say, oh, it's the will of God. Do you think it was the will of God for you to lose 7 members of your family within 24 hours?
No.
No.
I don't believe so. I believe that everything is man-made. Everything is part of what a man decides when he's not in tune with the Holy Spirit.
Everything or something?
Everything.
Sometimes tragedy be the will of God, sometimes, like in Job's case.
Well, when you think about disease, you think about accident, you think about where do you put yourself, where do you find yourself? Why some people have aged until 97 or 98 years old. Look at Billy Graham, for God's sake. Did God take him? He took him when it was the end of his purpose. And he said, faithful brother, well done, die.
Okay.
Finish.
Okay, so in your case, you believe that it wasn't the will of God?
No.
So what do you think happened?
I believe that something happened that day in the incident of the fire. We don't understand what's going on, but it doesn't make sense to me. And the fact that the family is not talking about it in detail
until now,
has made me realize that there's more to it. And the second thing is that I believe that if my brother Michael, my mother, were not under that shock, and they were actually on their knees and they were praying, or they were actually in tune, they were asking for help, they would have listened to what God was saying, do not take that plane. When they were in the plane, the owner of the plane was there. He was overweight. His name is Mr. Jej. He's hiding in Nigeria until today.
Oh, so not everyone died?
No, not everyone died. But he lost his family. So the Libyan pilot tells everybody in the plane cannot take off. We have to stop the plane. It cannot take off. The owner says, take the F plane off.
Oh, really?
It's in the black box.
But what I hear from you is that sometimes before a tragedy, the Lord warns us.
Yeah.
The Lord gives us signs to let us know that, so in such situations, then what do we do?
I think we go on our knees and we start asking for more.
Okay.
And we start, usually, I've learned over my life that He will come at least 3 times to remind you that He exists and you're not alone. And so that is why it's so important for me to cling on to Him and to discipline myself to be in relationship with Him all the time, whether I feel Him or not.
Wow. So in retrospect, this is 20 years on about.
Yes.
What would you say in just a few words? What has that tragedy, even if you don't believe the Lord sent it to you, but what would you say it has done to your life?
It has forged me in understanding that my legacy is for Christ, that everything I do with my gift is to leave Christ's mark everywhere I am, through love, through the responsibility of finding myself and working on the fruit of the Spirit. It has made me understood that I'm never alone, that there is always someone out there.
Excellent. I'm going to pick on one word, your gift. So can we now talk about your ministry through the performing arts, SPAM?
Yes.
The Society of, what does SPAM?
Yes, Society for the Performing Arts in Nigeria.
Okay. You also have an interesting story of how you got into performing arts. So tell us about it.
Well, I was in my Bible study in May 2003, a few months before the accident, and a lady was sitting with me saying that she hears the voice of God. And so she came into our group and she helped us pray, and she said, Sarah, do you dance? And I looked at her and I said, yes, in parties. And she said to me, no, do you dance? And I say, well, when I was a child, I used to do ballet. He says, now you have to dance for the Lord. So she gave me that specific instruction, and within few days, my best friend Tanya gave me a book called The Purposeful Driven Life by Rick Warren. And when the book was given to me, I was reading, and in the 5th chapter, Rick Warren mentioned that life is a test and a judge. And he mentioned it indirectly, and that's where I was about to wake up that morning, and I saw a building I saw a performing arts center, which I didn't know it was performing art at the time. I just saw music, dance, and drama and teaching. So I went back to my Bible study. I told him I think I had a vision.
So was this in a dream that you saw this building?
Yeah.
Or in a vision?
I was about to wake up. So I don't think I was dreaming because I was aware that I didn't want to wake up. So my eyes were closed and I was talking to someone. So it's very strange because you have this thought that comes in and you don't want to open your eyes.
Okay. So you saw a building basically that said dance, drama, and...
I saw people on stage, I saw dance, I saw music, and I knew teaching. I knew they were I heard the word 15,000, Pentagon, and they also showed me that the land is beside water.
Okay.
So they were like very specific, different things. So that's why I didn't want to wake up. And it's when I wake up, I looked at my husband and I said, okay, there's something happened to me. And I started sharing the story.
Okay, so you believe that was a message from God leading you to...
Yeah, because I didn't think of it.
Okay.
I know that God was using me in the purposeful driven life. Rick Warren speaks about how God uses your childhood as a mean of signal for your gifts. Okay. And childhood is a very important matter because it draws your first attention to what God wants you to do in life for His name. But to have that transition so drastically done, I didn't make it up. It just came. So for me, it was I didn't even know what was performing arts until I spoke to my Bible study friends. I told them, I saw a building with this. What is this?
So what did you do after that? Because there would be people who see like a vision or a dream, and,
they thought I was
and the
crazy.
Lord is speaking to them.
Yes,
so what do you do when you receive a message like that?
First, I kept silent because I was surrounded by a culture that does not believe in this and would call me crazy. Okay. But I think when I had the accident, everybody kept quiet.
Okay.
They respected my desire to go for it. I think the accident was a trigger for them to be silent.
Okay.
In a way.
So then, what did you do next?
So what I did next was that I prayed and I told God, please send me the people. And then it was the 8th of December 2003. My friend Abby Ayoku, she helps me all the time with parties. I said, I want to do parties and I want to have singers for Christmas Carol. And she says, you know, Sarah, you're bothering me. You started your study at Bible study with David. You're talking about David all the time. I just met this group. They are called Spirit of David. Let me just send them to you. So I thought they were singers. They landed in my house by coincidence. And then I told them, so what do you sing? Silent Night. And they looked at me and said, Madame, we don't sing. We dance for the Lord.
Wow.
So that was for me an answered prayer because I prayed. And I asked for God for a people. I said, I don't know Nigerians. I have no understanding of what to do. I'm in a country where I'm an Oyibo. How do I go through this?
A foreigner in the country.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So when was the first performance?
The first performance was very interesting because it was on the 4th of December 2004, less than a year later than the accident. Yeah. And we launched the Society for the Performing Arts in Nigeria. But my first dance ministration happened actually with my friends of Bible study. They had brought in people and it was in Guiding Light Assembly. So.
Wow.
Yep.
So a year after, one would have thought you would be so devastated that you couldn't do anything, but somehow that terrible tragedy propelled you into your purpose in life.
It did, because it made me understood to live by grace. And what is the concept of living by grace? The concept to be in tune with the Spirit, to work your character out, to work on this fruit of the Spirit that is so important, to learn to forge ahead. I had to go through counseling. I'm not saying I went to a Christian counseling program, Mirror Images. I went through Open Life counseling. But the first thing I did was to get out of my misery.
Okay, so counseling is important for us, even if we know God and God speaks to us.
And I think a Christian-based counseling program, because sometimes you can go through counseling that will not help you, but mine was Christian-based, and it was amazing, and it helped me a lot.
Okay. So you've been on this journey with SPAM for so many years. So have you set out to touch people through the performing arts in obedience to a call from God. So do we have some stories that may have stood out for you from this work?
Oh yes, we have miracles every day in SPAM. Today we have, I think I can count over 21 dance studios all over Nigeria. a countless number of students being touched by SPAN every day. We have about 650 that we can take record of, about over 100 teachers out there. We have 4 outside the country, each one of them with the will of God and the will to understand God, spreading their wings in testimonies. They're all very, I still be in touch with them, so I found out what's happening with their lives. And they're very successful outside Nigeria, much more than in Nigeria actually, because they respect dance more. And in Nigeria, they are growing a world of dancers that are quite amazing. And my young student, recently we ministered at HOTR, and it was amazing because the people went on their knees after that.
Okay, Sarah, that's amazing. So we're just going to take another break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Colors of life.
We've been talking to Sarah Boulos, who's shared with us how, through a great personal tragedy, she came to discover her purpose in life and has been using it to touch people's lives. So, Sarah, finally,
yes,
what would you say, listening to us out there, maybe someone who's lost a spouse, someone who's lost a child, lost a parent. You lost 7 people within 24 hours.
And everybody around me lost a child and a spouse and a parent.
Yeah. So what would you say to such a person, such people?
I think you're never alone.
Okay.
That God has a greater purpose for you through that trial and tribulation, that you actually should seek help and should seek mentors to counsel you and understand where you're going and find your true pilgrimage and to become a pilgrim of what Christ has called you to be, which is to leave a legacy for His name through your gift.
Okay, so they're not alone. God is with them.
Yes.
They should seek to find their purpose in spite of the pain.
Exactly.
And to touch other people's lives.
Exactly.
Through their gifting. Now, sometimes people will say, but I don't know what my gifting is. I don't know my purpose in life. Sometimes people are so depressed, so discouraged that they can't even see any light.
Yes, that's true.
So how do they take the next step?
My personal experience, that I didn't give up.
Okay.
So I kept on asking until I got it.
Okay.
So I think determined to, no matter what, I don't think He leaves anybody alone. Okay. And if He tells you to be alive, to be there, and your purpose is just to love, then love people. Okay. Don't do anything, just love.
Because we find out that sometimes when people go through great difficulty, they either move away from God or move closer to God.
Exactly.
So
there's no lukewarm situation. That's for true. No, that's true.
Yeah.
So it's about training yourself to love.
Okay.
And when you love again, things will come because creativity is associated with love.
Okay.
And there's no way God of creation made something beautiful for us to be on earth despite evil. And that is what I cling on to.
Okay. So you were intentional. You decided, I won't stray away from the Lord.
Feel it.
I'll go close to Him. And that made the difference.
Yep. I did not feel it anything. I did not feel. I was numbed. I was angry and I didn't want to do anything.
Okay. And who would have thought that something like dance and music could be used as ministry?
That's true.
Many
every
times,
time I dance, I heal. Every time. And the last Christmas performance we did, ministration, all the dancers healed that day. They went all on their knees. So it was more for them than for the audience. So God uses your gift to heal yourself. Okay.
Amazing. So, because many times people think entertainment, that's the world. There's no God in entertainment. But I hear you say that you've used entertainment, or God has used entertainment to even bring healing to the dancers.
Yeah.
And you said something about when you performed, was it last Christmas at House on the Rock?
No, actually it was a House on the Rock this Easter.
Okay.
Something happened to me and something happened to all the dancers on stage.
Was that the healing you're talking about?
People who are very wealthy and they have nothing else to do, they take Botox and they just inject themselves to make themselves younger. Yeah. For me, Christ, to dance for the Lord is my natural Botox.
So that's a message for we women.
Exactly. Or even men. I know there are some men who do that,
Okay.
I'm just saying that in a way, there is something that happens when you're totally in your purpose, when you're totally fulfilled in that way of, my gift is to be used to claim the name of Christ on earth. Something magical happens, and this is that magic. For me, magic is to be in tune with Christ, to do your gift, and to be for Him at all time, no matter what.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you.
Your story has really inspired me, and I'm sure to be a blessing to many others.
Thank you, Coco.